What y'all doing, teachers? Y'all doing what I'm doing? Nothing but doing everything at the same time. Like looking at your computer, waiting for an email to pop up. And then you get one that says, hi, I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Or your big, what is it, the break? And when you get back, due on the 3rd. Yeah. Are you thinking about your students? Ma'am, I'm the only gangster in here, okay? Yeah. Don't be a part-time gangster. All right? We're finding the value of the variable there, okay? All right, let's go. Alexa. Alexa, stop. Every day they send out a list of how many people are out. There's more people out in this school building than are in. All I'm doing is praying to whoever y'all believe in, whoever I believe in, that I don't catch COVID. I had it before. I got it actually from my oldest son when he went to middle school this year, 3 days in. This morning, we had to test the baby. All right, so behavioral management in the classroom during C season. Let me ask you. So behavioral management remains the same. Honestly, I have to do a lot more. Fix your mask. Put your mask on. Da-da-da-da. Now with this new variant, I've increased my management in regard to that because this is more aggressive in that it transmits, and I'm not a doctor, so disclaimer. But I have recently instituted a warning or like a punitive system or a system where if I have to warn them or my TAs have to warn them several times, they will get some type of response from us in regard to their behavior. So the first one, you know what? Let me show you. So the first strike is my drawing. The first strike is student is verbally warned. Student name is moved down the ladder. Student number 3, student is sent to the bench or excused outside so they can have a moment to evaluate their behavior. And then 4, they get a warning, and then we call home. Okay? So as for the ladder we're speaking about, this is it right here. I created it. Let me move my students' names over so y'all can't see that. I created it by printing it out. And when we say move up the ladder, they start at ready to learn and then move upward to outstanding. And as things go, they go down the ladder. And this has been really effective regularly in our environment anyway. But going down the ladder is like, oh man, we're going down the ladder. So it's very important that we don't go down the ladder, you know? So we also have opportunities for fun. So they get tent time. If they haven't behaved, they don't get an opportunity to go in the tent. Sometimes it's like a PBIS thing where we do say, okay, if you do this, you'll get tent time. And other things is like, oh, Miss H. Duncan, I like to do my work in a tent. And if you haven't behaved today, I'm going to explain to you, like, no, you cannot utilize a tent. So we also have some flex seating. There's another seat inside the tent that we can pull out. And then we also have, you know, they can sit on stools. If they want to work, they could work together. All of those things. All of those things are used for behavioral management in my classroom. some of the things to control their movement. We have markers on the floor. They have we call it the personal space. So of course, personal space is arm's length, but also with their desk space. And then what else? They also, in the school itself, they have token economy, where they get prizes for behaving certain ways or according to a characteristic or trait that the school wants them to exemplify. In my classroom, we have leadership positions, and then also they also get to choose where they sit. So like just having opportunities to do certain things. If they don't behave, they don't have that opportunity. I am a believer in not having line positions, because a lot of the students, I have 9 students right now, and out of the 9, I think about 5 on paper, meaning on the IEP, have some type of behavioral diagnosis or manifestations that come into in their behaviors. So for me, it's like, now that they're older, because I have 4 to 5 or 4th and 5th grade, I need to start regulating their behaviors. So in conjunction with the counseling department or the counselors, you can know, of course you know via the IEP, but you also confer with the counselor to know what really are their strengths and all their weaknesses, what they need to do, what's their coping strategies that counseling is doing, or the strategies that counseling wants us to institute in the classroom. And one of them is self-regulation, for my students mostly. Self-regulation, self-management, assessing their own behaviors. So if they're doing good in the class, they will be line leader for that moment. If they do good in a special, I come to the special, pick them up. The teacher says, oh, Johnny was great. Johnny's the line leader. That's how I reward them with the little things. I also reward them in being responsible and being respectful to each other, towards adults. What else do we do for behavioral management? Sometimes we use human proximity to manage their behaviors. So a TA will be placed next to the student for a moment, or will come around and always hold them accountable for their behaviors really immediately. Some of the students who are far more progressed in their behavioral management or coping strategies or their plan, you may give them a little bit more time to see what they're doing and respond a little bit more with a little bit more latency, and kind of like then refer to them and speak to them about what they did do and what they didn't do well, and what they could do better next time always. And feedback immediacy is important. Periodically we have discussions about behaviors, and I also allow them to freely speak to each other, freely within reason, speak to each other about what they appreciated or what they didn't like about what this person did to them or said to them or whatever. And that happens early in the morning using our mood meter. Early in the morning, just having like a very informal discussion, but it's informal to them, but I'm also, observe and report. Also, we have a lot of routines in here that have come into play from the beginning of the year, and also have become have been adapted and flexed to respond to how the kids are responding to it. So when they come into the building, they come upstairs, there's a bench within our hallways that's built into the school building. The actual infrastructure of the building, structure of the building. Let me take this call. Okay, just got a call about school stuff. So yeah, and then just making sure the environment is as equalized as possible. I myself, the equity sticks are like, they're great and they're cute, but I tend to be like really like impromptu. So I created, make sure their names are not showing, equity cards. So I'll shuffle them and the kids are like, not the cards. And then they always do that to me. And I'll pull out the name and then say who's answering the question, especially if they're fighting. So that kind of settles them and gets them back focused, like, you're not the boss, Fairness is the boss. Equity is the boss. Equality is the boss. So here we are. We're going to randomize these names and pick the names. So yes, there's names on here. okay? And I only got 9 kids, so if the kids are absent, of course, I take their name out or whatever, and I shuffle up my cards and do my thing. What else? Just incentivize. I don't believe in having a punitive environment. Some teachers do. My principal feels that way. It should be very punitive, but my principal also does not verbatim know all of my kids. Also, what she does know of them may have been over time. They change every day, and they also are getting older, so things are changing. Like, I have kids that literally are going through puberty, and every day I'm like, please put your arms down. So I don't think punitive punishments always work. Reinforcement in ways they do work, and we have to do that in a certain in ways in which our students are going to be responsive to them. So we also got to remember context. Is the student responsive to me versus the counselor? Are they responsive to the counselor more than I am? So we got to work as a team. So although we're talking about the behavior in the classroom in general, the behavior in the whole school environment and how they engage with all adults in their respective capacities. I am a teacher that when I drop off my students to lunch, I'm watching them for a few minutes. I want to see how they're interacting with others around them, especially in COVID times. Are you going directly to your desk? Are you staying with your pod? Are you going to grab your lunch with your whole backpack on? Because we have the last lunch of the day. You put your stuff down, go back to the lunch. Are you being respectful to the cafeteria person? Those types of things. If something happens outside of my purview, outside of my classroom, and I'm told about it, which most of the time, 95% of the time, I'm told about it in some way, or I find out in some way, I'm gonna be on that kid's tail. I'm gonna be on them. I'm gonna be on their tail. I'm gonna be on their parents' tail. I'm gonna be on them. Okay. I, as a mother, deal with my sons a certain way. I have the same energy towards my students. I am not their mother, but as a parent and as a human, I can't allow for kids to be disrespectful. And I think behavioral management is, although it is about the classroom, it's also about life, especially when dealing with kids that have diagnoses or classifications that are around behavior, or they have a classification and then they have comorbid things that go with behaviors, or their classification has manifestations in the behavior. Some kids don't like the fact that they have a learning disability, and their behaviors manifest in, from you saying, do it this way, do it that way. You learn that as you go, okay? So I don't believe that classroom management can be blanketed. It cannot be just one way. We have to institute them and see how the kids respond. I think that's where, being in school, we learn a lot of things, and we don't necessarily learn, like, this may not work today, but it could work tomorrow. And in the context of things. So, Real Talk Sped. If you like my content, please subscribe. Notification bell, like they say. I'm going to be continuing to talk about New York City schools and me as a New York City Bronx teacher, and what I do in my classroom and what makes my classroom work. Also, my experiences. Right now, I'm on my prep. I'm on my prep period, which is the period where you kind of like prepare your lessons, but I'm prepared already, so I can do this video. And yes, I'm going to talk about the things that go on in a real special education classroom. I am not ICT. We call it self-contained here in New York. I have under 12 students. I have 2 assistants. One is a TA, one is a para, but the para does academic work as well with me. And it's really a team environment, and that's also part of behavioral management. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, and see you next time. Best and blessings. Bye. I told my students that I have at night, I was like, I got a 5th grader, and she was like, I ain't twerking, I'm working. try first, and then we'll come back and help you, okay? You washed your hands? What?
He said no soap.
I'm gonna go right in that boy's bathroom and see if there's soap, because you got to be lying. You all lying? You just